Hello, everyone, and welcome to Africa Fire Mission's weekly virtual training session. My name is Mike, and I'm the programs director here at Africa Fire Mission. We're so happy that you took time out of your busy schedules to join us for today's training. Today, we're joined by Craig Lalonde. Craig has traveled with us to Kenya in the past. He's signed up. He's going to be traveling with us again to Kenya here in November. Uh, he's a lieutenant at his fire brigade and has been doing this for quite a few years. Great guy. We're really excited to have him here today. He's going to be talking about firefighter fitness, which is a bit of a passion for him, as you can tell just by looking at him. So we'll get started with that training in just a few moments. Before we get started with that, though, I'd like to pass things over to Errol. Errol is Africa Fire Mission's fire safety advocate. He's going to get us started with a couple words of encouragement.
Thank you very much, Chief Mike. Hi, Craig. Hi, Jose. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So, I would like to take this opportunity to give us a word of encouragement from the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, from chapter 6, verse 10. It says, and I read, uh, finally, be strong in the Lord and, and his mighty power. So it tells us how we all need to be strong despite the challenges we're facing day in, day out, and also in our walk of salvation as we experience challenges here and there. So it tells us let's be strong and focus on His mighty power. Sometimes, as human beings, we want to do things by ourselves, thinking but that we have the human strength. But the Bible scripture tells us that we focus on Him so that all things we do, we extract the power from Him. Thank you very much. Feel encouraged and welcome to our today's session. Over to you, Mike.
All right, thank you, Earl. That fits kind of right in. We're going to focus on that human strength a little bit today, but great message to go along with that. We'll focus on it in the appropriate way. Before we get started with today's training, let me just touch on a couple of administrative items for you. If you stick around for at least 70% of today's training, which is usually about 40 or 45 minutes, you will get a certificate of attendance for today's training. If something happens that you get cut off, you drop your network, and you'd like to complete this and get your certificate of attendance, head on over to our webpage at www.africafiremission.org. Go to the resources tab and click training materials. Under there, you'll find a link to our Google Drive that has copies of the recordings of all the trainings that we've done so far this year. If you fill out the form, answer a couple questions to let us know that you've completed the training, I can get you a certificate of attendance that way as well. Um, Other items I just want to touch on quick. The name that's on your screen right now is the name that will be used to generate your certificate. So if you want to make any changes to that, please go ahead and make those adjustments now. If you're sharing your screen with someone else, we can get a certificate of attendance for them as well. Just drop me an email. I'll be placing my email address in the chat in just a few moments here. Drop me an email and let me know who else is watching on your screen so that I can get them certificates of attendance as well. I think that wraps up everything that I've got to say. So now I think I'm going to pass things over to my friend Craig here to get us started with today's training.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. And yeah, thanks, Chief Mike. Thanks, Errol. Glad to be here. And today we're going to talk about firefighter fitness. And feel free to drop any questions in the chat and we'll get them addressed as they come along. So let me get my screen here situated and we'll get rolling. All right. Look good, Mike, on the.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. So, like Chief Mike said, I'm a lieutenant. I work down in Texas here in the United States. And I've been a firefighter for 7 years now. So, and both at work and outside of work, I like doing a lot of fitness stuff and fitness competitions and help lead a health and wellness program at my department. So I put together a plan that hopefully works for everybody here and don't need much equipment to be strong and fit. All right, so we're going to talk about why it's important to us, the 4 pieces of fitness that I think are most important and easy to achieve, go over some different workouts that should be accessible to everybody, ways to make them easier or harder, talk a little bit about, right, y'all are dealing with high heat most of the time, same thing here down in Texas, so really important to keep the heat in mind when we're working out, and give y'all a sample plan on something you can put together at the station or at home. Let's see. All right. So, right, the job that we do is difficult. It's demanding in every sense of the word, right? So whether you're outside the fire or inside a building with fire, we're working hard in all conditions, whether it's cold, hot, raining, whatever it is, right? Move this out of my way here. All right. And, right, it might be in the middle of the night. It might be before we've had our supper. We're not always ready 100% for the task that's ahead of us. But the one thing we can control is how ready we are physically with our fitness, right? And when we are more tired from being less fit, we're more likely to make mistakes or more likely to get hurt. So hopefully you can take some stuff away so that we're not getting hurt or making mistakes on the fire ground, right? And going home safe to your family. All right. So I know we have a variety of people here that some of us have PPE, right? So helmet, tunic, pants, gloves, boots, right? Some of us have that and some of us don't. If you have your PPE, you're going to be carrying more weight. If you don't have PPE, you're going to be exposed to more heat and smoke, right? And so the big things are our heart and our lungs and our muscles, of course, right? And the stronger all of those things are, the more ready we're going to be for the job. And you're going to get tired less, so you'll be able to perform the job that you're on in the moment. You'll be able to perform that better and longer and be less likely to get hurt, right? And in regards to PPE, if you have those things, we want to make sure we know how to wear them and wear them appropriately. And if you don't have them, we need to do the best you can with what you have to make sure you're staying safe. And for us here at least in my department, we have a time, at least 1 hour every day, that we are supposed to work on our fitness. So, right, training smart. All right. So if we are as fit as we can be and we're on scene of whatever we're on, most importantly on a fire, that's the most dangerous thing we deal with a lot of times, right? You'll be able to work harder, and that's with all the parts of the job, whether you're carrying tools, climbing stairs, ladders, or you have to help rescue a person and move them down a ladder, down a hallway, carry them. Your breathing, right? Your lungs, if those are strong, you'll be able to stay more calm, because when your body is less tired, your mind is less tired. And that's when we can perform better and make less mistakes. And, right, we all work as part of a team. So if we are all doing our best to be fit, We can change out. Some person's tired. If you're tired, you can ask one of your teammates, your crewmates for help, right? And we work harder together. If we have two of us that are more fit, we will be even better, right? It kind of multiplies on team fitness, right? One person that is very fit is good. Two people that are fit is much, much better, right? And so on. And the longer we can work, the more we can help people. And it's also important to train your fitness for the job and what we're expected to do, because we're not all going to be big, strong muscles that look really strong. Some of us will, but there are a lot of things that are more important than being big and having big muscles, right? I'm pretty small compared to a lot of guys that I work with, but because I care and train hard in my fitness, I can work just as hard or better and be more of an asset to my team. All right, so strength, right? Everything that we do, or a lot of what we do, is heavy, right? We're carrying stuff all the time. You get off your engine, your truck, you're taking your hose, you're moving hose with water. Ladders are heavy, people are heavy, and you might, like we talked about earlier, the conditions aren't always perfect. You might have just eaten and then you feel really gross because you're full of food. You might have not eaten in a long time, and so you're working on that. If it's in the middle of the night, you're going to be tired, right? And so keep circling back to, is your fitness and your physical abilities improves everything and makes everything easier on scene, right? You're going to be more safe, more effective, faster, and you're going to be a more valuable member of your team. And in the US, the numbers that we have is there are many, many firefighters or the firefighters who die on scene or at work, many of those die from a problem with their heart, right? And good fitness is the number one thing I believe that you can do to prevent having problems with your heart. And of course, there's things like what you eat also helps too. All right. So the 4 parts of fitness that I think are the most important, we have strength, so your muscles; cardio, that's going to be your heart and lungs; mobility, so that's if you have a lot of muscles and you're really strong, but you can't bend very well, you're more likely to get hurt, right? So if you're stiff all the time, working on that. And then recovery, so food, water, and sleep. With strength, there are multiple different parts of that, right? We want to make sure that we're working on a pushing exercise, a pulling exercise, a squatting or lunging, right, to work out our legs, and carrying. Like I said before, we carry a lot of stuff. And strong hands, strong grip translates to so much of what we do on the job. Cardio, again, the heart and lungs. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple walking. It can be walking while carrying something, walking while wearing a backpack. Stairs are great. If you have stairs where you live, or stairs at the station, or stairs somewhere that you can access them, like at a park, you can get a lot of good cardio work done on stairs, right? And intervals. And what that means is periods of hard work with periods of rest. And I'll talk about that more in a little bit. Mobility, like I said, all different joints of your body, right? So your wrists, your elbows, shoulders, hips, knees, ankles. You want to take care of yourself in making sure your warm up and after your exercise, doing some warming up those joints and then stretching those joints out after or on your days when you're resting or times of the day when you're resting. And that'll help you be less likely to get hurt, get injured. And then recovery, right? These are stuff we can usually control a lot of. And so making sure you're eating the right foods, drinking enough water, and sleeping enough when you can, right? When you are at work or if you're at home with kids or another job, sometimes we can't get perfect sleep. But the more that you can prioritize sleep and make a good sleeping environment for yourself, that's when your body, all the hard work we're doing on the job and with our fitness, the only way you get better is if your body's able to recover. So think of that as a very important piece to this puzzle and this fitness is you can do all the hard work, but if your body doesn't have the time to recover, it's not going to matter. All right, so we're going to go through some things, and I think I'll have some time here in a bit where I can demonstrate some things and answer some questions or demonstrate some things that people have questions on, right? But talked about mobility and making sure we don't get hurt. So before we start any exercise, and this could be a good thing to do even at the beginning of your shift at work, right? Or you show up to the fire station, you've got some extra time, do something to get your body moving. And it can be really easy, walking or marching in place. Just really, it's about moving different parts of your body, moving your arms in big circles, squatting or lunging or both, doing things like sprinting in place, so high knees, butt kicks, almost folding your body in half slowly, right? We call that a hip hinge, kind of like a deadlift. If you've been here last year with Howard doing his presentation, talked about deadlifting. So just 5, 8, 10 minutes of moving through these things slowly and easy. It's not part of getting more fit, but it's part of preventing injury and getting your body ready for either the day or getting your body ready for a workout. All right. And then getting into some of these movements, right? We talked about wanting to have a push and a pull in your workout, and a push is going to be your chest and shoulders to make those parts of your body strong, right? We can do push-ups. That's a gold standard for a good push workout that everybody has access to. And there's some different ways. If you don't have a good, normal, regular push-up, right, you can put your hands on a wall and start there. Do push-ups off the wall. Those are pretty easy, but if that's where you need to start, no problem. We want you doing something rather than nothing. Incline push-up, so if you have a couch, a bench, stairs, you can put your hands on those, do push-ups that way, and eventually you're moving to the floor, the ground, where you can do a push-up with your whole body weight. Or if you have just the floor to work with and you don't want to be on your feet, that's too hard for when you're just starting, you can be on your knees, and that's okay. It's all about keeping good form. And that's the same thing with all of these, is good form is going to help you from getting injured and getting the most out of the exercise you're doing, right? A pike push-up is where you kind of have your butt in the air, right? And it's going to be a harder push-up. Or putting your feet up on a bench or stairs. It's going to work different parts of your chest and shoulders, and it's going to be a harder exercise for when you're getting stronger and need something that's more challenging. And a pull, right? We want to have, if we're going to have a strong chest, we need to be balanced. We want to have a strong back, right? If you have something that you can hang from, like it could be a ledge of something, it could be part of a truck, the back of stairs, or if you do have a bar somewhere around, and you can do a pull-up, right? Pull yourself up, and that's going to work all parts of your back. That's kind of the gold standard for a strong back. But if you don't have access to one of those things, right, if you have a towel or a cloth, right, and you can wrap that around something and just pull on it, right? It might not move, but you might pull on it for 5 seconds, rest. And that's 1 repetition, right? And that's going to it's called an isometric exercise, where it's still engaging your strength, because it's going to be really hard if you have something you can wrap a towel around and pulling on it that's not going to move. It's going to be really hard, right? So if you're doing that, you will get stronger. If you have something like a backpack, jug of water, anything that's heavy that you can hold on to, and you just pick it up from the ground and row it, right? And I'll demonstrate that. As long as it's in a position where you can feel it in your back, that'll help get you stronger. And so a very easy basic setup is we'll do everything 3 times through with however many repetitions you can do. So if I can do 6 push-ups and 6 pull-ups, I do that 3 times. That's a really good starting place. And we'll talk about how you can make those harder or easier as you progress. But right, if you can do 15 to start, do that. Anywhere in between 6 and 15 is a great range for you to get started and get strong. All right, legs, right? Legs are super important everywhere. They help us do everything. They help us pick stuff up. They help us move, right? Squatting, easy, right? But you might need to make some modifications based on your body, right? How long your legs are, how short your legs are. You can squat onto a chair or onto a bench. So lunges, right? You just take a step forward, let your back knee touch the ground, stand back up. Make sure you're doing it with both one leg and then the other. That's an easy way to get strong with your legs. Stepping up onto stairs or a bench or a chair and stepping back down, one leg and then the other. And with all of these things, you can add weight, right? If you have a backpack, if you have something you can hold, if you have a rock you can pick up, right? I've done all of those things. You do that, it makes it harder, right? And then a hip hinge, like we talked about, just kind of bending forward at the waist. Calf raises, so having flat feet and then standing up, bringing your heels up so you're just on your toes. Pick 2 or 3 of those. Like we said, 3 sets, 8 to 15 times each. So I'm going to do squats, step ups, and calf raises. I'll do 10 squats, 10 step ups, 10 calf raises, take a short rest, do that 3 times. That's a workout for your legs, right? If that's too easy, do more reps or add weight. If it's too hard, right, then we can change it to something easier, like squatting onto a chair, doing shorter step ups, or do less reps or add more rest. And then you want to really protect your core. So your stomach and your back, right? I know at least in the US, over 80% of firefighters throughout their career have a back injury. And if you've ever hurt your back, it affects pretty much everything that you do, right? So for your core, a plank where you are either holding the top of a push-up position or that same position, but you're down on your elbows, or a side plank where you are doing the same thing, but you're rotated onto your side. A dead bug is just laying on your back with your knees up, and you drop one leg to the ground, bring it back up, do the other leg, and repeat. And a bird dog kind of hard to demonstrate or talk about, but I'll demonstrate it. But it's essentially you're on your hands and knees, and you'll pick up your right hand and your left leg, bring it back down, do the opposite, right? And then carries, like I talked about, super important. If you have anything that you can carry, water cans, jerry cans, buckets with sand, buckets with rocks, buckets with water, backpacks. And it can be, if you don't have two, you can just do one side and then the other. And it can be as simple as walking, right? You pick a certain distance, you pick up the weight, you walk there, walk back. That's one good exercise. If you just have one thing to pick up, do the same thing with both sides. And if you can carry anything up and down stairs, right? We're wanting to carry these in our hands to help make our arms and our hands stronger. Carrying anything up and down stairs that you're holding is going to be good and challenging, and it'll help make your arms and hands stronger. Cardio, we talked about, is your heart and lungs, right? And cardio is going to be very important for if you are in gear or in the heat, which, like I said, is a lot of the time down here in Texas. A lot of the time over there in Africa, it's hot, right? And so you will work longer and work better in those conditions with gear or without gear. And again, it doesn't have to be complicated. You can walk fast. You can run. You can do running where you run a little bit and then walk a little bit. And that might be a great place to start if you're just getting into it. Run for 1 minute, walk for 1 minute, and just repeat that. Stairs, or if you have hills, right? Just walking up and down stairs, running up and down stairs, and it can be the same thing. Maybe you just walk up and down the stairs for 10 or 20 minutes. Maybe you run up the stairs for half a minute and then you rest for half a minute, 1 minute, 1 minute and a half, whatever you need to do as you're getting started in this, or to challenge yourself more. If you have a jump rope, usually you can find those anywhere online at most fitness stores or big stores that would have that sort of equipment, and they're usually pretty cheap and it's kind of fun. That's a great way to get your heart and lungs working. Some jump rope. Shuttle runs is just you pick a spot. You don't need much space. It can be 10 meters and you run fast. You sprint from one point to the other point 10 meters away and sprint back. And you can do that as like all of the cardio stuff we talked about on the right side of my screen here. You can aim to do 15 to 20 minutes of this. And if you are feeling like you're pretty fit, do 1 minute hard, 1 minute easy or rest. But if we're just getting started, it can be as short as 30 seconds of work and then take as much rest as you need, 90 seconds. But you got to be careful. You don't want to be resting so much because it's challenging. It should be somewhat challenging. That's what's going to help you improve, right? Is challenging yourself. All right. And so here's just a simple thing you can do with no equipment need or no gym, right? Maybe if you with the carries, right? If you have some stuff you can carry, beautiful. But you can pick any exercises you want to do, right? Upper body, lower body, and cardio and core, and pick 5 exercises and do those for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. The example I have here is you would do 40 seconds of work with 20 seconds of rest. That can be changed like everything else based on if you need less rest or more rest. So the example I have here for cardio, 40 seconds of stairs or a fast march. It could be 40 seconds of shuttle run. Then you take 20 seconds of rest. Then you move right into push-ups. Do 40 seconds of push-ups. Then you take 20 seconds of rest. Do 40 seconds of some type of carry, right? And then take 20 seconds of rest. Move on to squats, 40 seconds, or lunges, 40 seconds, 20 seconds of rest. And then a plank or a dead bug or any other core exercise that you like, sit-ups, and do 40 seconds of work, 20 seconds of rest. So once you've gone through that, you've done cardio, upper body, lower body, and core, and that's 5 minutes. You can repeat that twice to as many times as you want. If you're feeling really fit, you could do the whole thing for 30, 40, 50 minutes. All right, and then we'll talk about an easy way to measure your effort, right? So if things are easy, then you should be able to talk just like we're talking now. On your longer cardio or your recovery days or warming up, should be easy. Moderate, so not hard, not easy. You can talk, but you might need some more breaks between your talking, and certainly couldn't be singing, right? For most cardio sessions and circuits, you want to have them at moderate, where it's not hard, not easy. And then for when things are hard for your workouts, you can only say a few words at a time, and you don't always want to be working on the hard part of how you can be working out, right? Because it takes longer for your body to recover. So if I did 5 workouts that were really hard every week, I would need a lot of recovery, right? And sometimes we can't control how we can recover. So, but if you're always doing easy, you're not going to improve as quickly or sometimes at all. All right. And then so how we can progress, right? You can add more reps. So, if I'm doing more push-ups or more sets, we talked about if I do 10 push-ups and then I rest and then do that 2 or 3 times, I can add more sets, more time for your cardio. More load is how heavy things are, adding books to a backpack, adding water jugs to your backpack, water bottles to your backpack, and then harder versions of things. So moving from wall push-up to a floor push-up, moving from stepping up onto something that's short into something that's a little bit taller, right? And this said, change only one thing at a time if you're looking to make things more difficult. And then don't go too hard too soon, because that's how you get hurt, right? So start with something that you can do and just do that consistently, do that every week, and add a little bit at a time, right? And then just touching on heat and hydration. I wake up every morning and I have a big jug of water, right? When it's hot out, you want to make sure you're drinking consistently and be hydrated before you start anything. And water should be enough, but even if you just have a little bit of salt, you can add into the water, where it doesn't even have to be where you really taste it. Some people, it's not always fun to drink salty water. But if you can add a little bit of salt to your water, it's going to help your body absorb that water better, right? And an easy way to check if you are hydrated enough, right? Looking at your pee, your urine. If your urine is very dark when you use the bathroom, you need to drink more water. If your urine is mostly clear when you use the bathroom, you're probably pretty hydrated, and just keep doing what you're doing. But in hot weather, especially, if you ever feel like you're starting to get cramps, feel dizzy, lightheaded, feel nauseous, like you're going to throw up, or start feeling confused, that means it's too hot or you're too dehydrated, or both. And that's when it's time to stop and make sure you Try to get somewhere cooler, even if that's just in the shade, and drink more water. And food, right? You don't have to spend a lot of money to eat well. You want to make sure that you're getting good protein because that'll help you recover and build muscles, build strength. Good starch or carbohydrates, that's your fuel, right? And then good fruit and vegetables because those are just things that help your body perform better, and plenty of water. So some examples here for proteins: beans, lentils, eggs, fish, chicken, or nuts, right? Starches, carbs, maize, ugali, rice, potatoes, cassava. I eat a lot of rice and potatoes because they're cheap, and they're easy, and you can do lots of things, add spices to make them taste better, add oils, and you all know about fruits and vegetables. So just making sure you have a well-rounded diet if you can, and it doesn't have to be expensive to make that happen. All right, and then for weekly plans, so if you aren't doing any fitness stuff right now, start just 3 days a week, right? Do one strength day where you're doing a push, a pull, and something for your legs. Another day, do a 30-minute walk. Maybe that's walk up and down stairs if you're feeling brave. And then day 3, do a circuit, right? So pick those exercises, some exercises like we talked about. Pick an amount of time you're going to do it, an amount of time you're going to rest. Do that for 15 minutes to start off with, and have rest days in between there. Now, if you've already been doing some fitness stuff, or you're just young or naturally a little bit more fit, right? Pick day 1 where right here where you're doing in the middle, do a strength day that's could be full body, could be just upper body or just lower body. Day 2, do some intervals. Same thing we just talked about. The third day, do strength. And again, if you did just lower body on day 1, do just upper body on that day 3, or it could be whole body both days. Day 4, and do a walk 30 to 40 minutes, right? And so I talked about mobility. I always do mobility, so stretching my different joints after my workouts, and just doing that for 5 minutes after all your workouts, it'll make you a lot less likely to get injured. And then if you're already fit, or you get to a point where you're really fit, right, you can, if you have 1 or 2 recovery days in there, you can do 2 to 3 strength days, 2 cardio days, and 1 circuit day, right? And that brings you to 6 days, 1 rest day. All of those days, try your best to control your hydration, your food, and your sleep, and that's how you're going to get better. All right. And then so at your station, right, if you can bring in other guys or girls that you're working with, you can, it's going to be more fun. And so, right, you can lead a warm-up before duty or before a workout. Pick a 20-minute circuit that you can do at the station. Bring that to the station twice a week. You know, if it's really hot out, I mean, if you're feeling sick, maybe don't train that day, or just take it easy. Or if it's really hot out, make sure you have someone with you just in case you start feeling gross or sick when it's hot. Again, use the simple equipment that you have. You can carry hoses, carry hose rolls, carry ladders, carry tools. And then, right, we want to make sure, if we're making it a game or making it a competition, that we're always supporting and encouraging each other, because some people are going to be better and more fit, and some people might just be starting or might not be as fit, right? But if we aren't encouraging and supporting those people who are just starting or aren't as fit, then they're probably not going to want to do it more, right? And if you have someone who is interested in it, but they don't get support and encouragement, and they don't want to do it more, then they're going to be more likely to get hurt or injured, and you are going to lose out on someone potentially being a stronger and more helpful member of your crew. And if there's anything that I would suggest easy for tracking how you're doing, because you want to make sure you're improving, do every month, maybe the first day of every month, try to do as many push-ups as you can in one set. Then take a rest, try to hold a plank, or maybe it's as many push-ups or sit-ups, excuse me, as you can in one set. And then choose six minutes. Pick a part, how many times you can go back and forth. Could be back and forth in your apartment, back and forth in the station yard, or it could be how many times you can go up and down the stairs, right? And then track those things. If you're progressing in your fitness, you're going to be staying. If you're already doing very well, make sure you're staying at that point. And if you're getting better, hopefully you can track that and see how you're getting better. That's a good way to measure yourself. All right. So then what I would say to you leaving today, pick one of these things to do to be consistent. Walk 20 minutes every day. It doesn't have to be 20 minutes at once if you can't, right? 10 minutes twice a day. Do the warm-up or some sort of warm-up and 2 strength moves just for 10 minutes. Could be lower body and upper body, all lower body, or do the 20-minute circuit that I laid out. Do that twice this week. And then nothing needs to be perfect as far as your form or the time, but what's going to make the biggest difference for you, for anybody, is consistency. If I can only do 3 days a week, but I can do 3 days a week every week, that's going to be much better than doing this week I do 1 day, next week I do 6 days, right? So consistency, try to do something at least three times every week. So that's what I have. I can answer any questions, but also I can go down and demonstrate what some of these movements, if people aren't familiar with them.
All right, very good. Thanks, Craig. As Craig makes his way to where he's going to do a couple of these demonstrations, we do have some time. If you've got any questions or anything like that, you can drop a question in the chat. You could use the raise hand feature, or you could go ahead and unmute yourself.
The light's a little rough in here. Let me see if I can change that. All right. Anybody popping up with questions or anything right now?
No questions yet, but we've got a good view there.
Cool. All right. So probably over the last 13 or 14 years, I've just worked to accumulate different equipment, and I'm fortunate enough that have quite a bunch of equipment acquired at this point. I've made some of my own equipment. I've traded for some equipment. I've gotten some equipment gifted to me. So, yeah, I have a good little spot here. Let me pull up my PowerPoint here so I can make sure I'm hitting some of the things that I talked about, and then we can get started on there. All right. So make sure see myself. All right. So talked about push-ups and some different variations, right? So if you have, like here I have a bench, right? If doing your standard push-ups on the floor are hard, right? We're talking about our push exercise. You can get your push-ups on bench, stairs, whatever it is, and you can do your push-ups here, right? That's a little easier than doing push-ups on the ground. For push-ups on the ground, you can do, I talked about push-ups from your knees, right? So I'm just on my knees, and I'm doing my push-ups here, right? That's going to be easier than doing normal, regular push-ups, but it's still going to get you what you need. Or, right, your regular push-ups, right? And this can be used as a plank. This is a good plank position as well. If we're talking about working on our core, right? But a normal push-up, you're here, down for chest, hips, and thighs on the ground, and back up. Simple, right? What else we got on here? We talked about pull-ups, right? And some different back variations. So, let me do, yeah. So if you have access to something that you can pull up on, I have a pull-up bar here, but like I said, I've done it when I'm traveling where I find something else I can hang on and manage to pull myself up on, right? So you hang from something, pull yourself up as high as you can, lower yourself down, there's a pull-up. So it looks like this, hang, up, down, one pull-up, right? If we don't have access to that, right, I have a backpack, and it could be, like I said, jug of water. Of course, if you have something like dumbbells, if you have a tool, a roll of hose from the station, whatever it is, right? So I want to make sure that I'm engaging my back, right? So I have this, and all I do is pick it up, right? That's a row, okay? So just picking it up, do it on both sides, right? I've got some weights in here, but it could be books, could be bottles of water, could be whatever you can put in your backpack to make it heavier, right? We're rowing like that. Squats and lunges, right? So squats, it's just hips shoulder width apart, down, up. You do enough of those, you're really going to feel it in your legs. Lunges, so it's standing up tall, 1 foot forward, back knee touches the ground, up, like that. Same thing, going to be really, really good for your legs. Boom. Check what else I'm talking about here. All right. Oh, yeah, so some squat variations, split squats, step ups. All right. So split squats, it's another good one. You get into your lunge position, and even just going up and down like this, that's going to be a more challenging one. Works on your balance, but it's going to really work your legs. Squatting onto a chair or a bench, right? If you have some limitations, some pain anywhere with a normal squat, you can just squat onto a bench and back up. Bench, back up. For step ups, right? If I have a bench, I'm just stepping up onto it, back down, other foot, up onto it, back down. Right? If I want to make that more hard and I have a backpack that I can wear, same thing with squats, right? If I want to make my squats more hard, I can wear a backpack. Step ups more hard, wear a backpack. If I want to make my push-ups more hard, wear a backpack. Or any of those things where you're holding something, right? To make them more challenging. Hip hinge, and then I'll go over some core stuff. So a hip hinge is just really going to work. It's going to be strong lower back and strong what's called your posterior chain, so the back of your legs. It's basically just a fold, right? Folding. I can make it harder by wearing a backpack or holding something, right? If I'm holding something here, it's going to make that harder. We got on here planks. I think I demoed plank a little bit with push-ups. Fix my camera. So I can even just hold the top of a push-up position for a plank, or I can go down on my elbows for a plank. For a side plank, I can just rotate my body, right? Side plank here. That's going to work your whole core, but especially your obliques, the side. I can do a side plank from my hand. That's going to be more hard than on your elbows, but side plank like this. That dead bug that I mentioned is going to be laying on your back. And it's just dropping one leg, picking it back up. Like that. Bird dog. Hands and knees. One arm goes up and your opposite leg goes up, comes back down. Then you switch, right? That's going to be really good for your glutes and your lower back. And then I talked about carries. So simplest thing, anything that you can carry, right, that's kind of heavy. If you have a backpack and you just walk with it, if you have two things you can carry, great, right? Anything with a handle or something you can grab onto to carry like this, great, because you want to be working your arms and your hands, and that's the main goal with any sort of carries. And let's make sure, I think that's the majority of the stuff that I talked about. Chief Mike mentioned that one of the fire stations or fire brigades he worked with over there had made their own dumbbells and barbells out of concrete molds. Always an option if you have access to it, and creativity and good exercise and teamwork. So that's all I've got on the fitness side and demos.
Excellent. Hey, Craig, we've got a question in the chat that asks, what's some of the mistakes that we do when we're performing physical fitness, and how do we avoid them?
I think one of the biggest things is doing too much too soon. So if you're just getting into fitness, or you're trying something new and doing too much of it, so a weight that's too heavy, or running for too long, running up and down stairs for too long, because or the other thing that happens too with anybody who's competitive. I know a lot of us firefighters, right, are competitive, and this guy who I'm working out with or who I work with can pick up this much weight or run this many stairs. And I'm like, well, I can do that too, right? And so I try to pick up the weight he's picking up, or I try to be as fast as he is. And a lot of times we're not the same, right? And I end up getting hurt because I want to, either I'm excited to get into fitness and make my fitness better, or I'm trying to compete with this guy who's a little stronger or better. Yeah, I think that would be, because if you're injured, you can't continue to do that thing, right? So doing too much too fast, or being competitive with friends in a way that's going to get you hurt. You have to be mindful of your own limitations. It's good to be competitive, but if you have any feeling that this could get you hurt, just don't do it. Like, maybe this guy can lift this much weight, so don't try to do what he's doing, but keep working on yourself. And if you get to that point, call him out into the gym, into the station yard, wherever, and be like, hey, look, let's try this again, right? But you don't need to do it right away.
Other questions. Someone's asked sort of about, doing like push-ups or press-ups, so like, how many can you do in a day? And what do you do to not get any back pain when you're doing fitness?
Yeah. So it's all going to depend on, I mean, there's people, right, who do 1,000 push-ups a day, but they started with 20, right? So A good measure is if you do a workout, right, that feels challenging. Um, the next day, how do you feel? If we're talking about press ups, push ups, how do your shoulders feel? How do your chest feel? How does your back feel? Um, if it's sore, okay, you got uh, a good workout. Take a rest day. Do more when it's not sore, right? Don't keep working on the same muscle when that muscle is sore. Um, and but if it's not, maybe you can do it again the next day, or the next time you do it, do more, right? And then as far as making sure you don't like your back getting hurt, that mobility, that stretching piece, it can be at home with the kids, at home before bed, wherever, right? You can do, if you can look up or ask somebody for back stretches. And same thing with anything. If you're having some uh, tightness, stiffness in some part of your body, see how you can take some time to warm up and then spend some time stretching it out.
Uh, Somebody here is asking, he's not much for weightlifting. He's a runner. He mostly does running, but he wants to start to incorporate some of these exercises that you've talked about. How does he balance that? How much should he run while he's still trying to maintain strength for other exercises? Should there be running days only, or can you do running and other exercises together?
Yeah, it's great. And that's how I started too. I used to just do running and I loved it. I was pretty good at it. And then when I started getting into trying a little bit of other fitness stuff, I really liked that too. And really, being stronger is also going to make you a better runner. Um, and you don't want to, give up on the running because that's also a big help. But you can do however you enjoy. I think the biggest thing is like consistency is going to come from stuff you enjoy. So if you like going out on runs, but maybe every 5 minutes you stop and you do 10 push-ups and uh, 10 squats, right? And people might think it looks funny, whatever. Like you're out there making yourself better, okay? But if that's something you're concerned about is looking funny because you're running around and then you're doing push-ups, squats, any of these exercises, you can go out for a run, come back, then do a circuit of these strength exercises, or you can have it be a day where you just run and then a day where you just do strength. Um, all of those are good solutions, but whatever feels good to you, and if you were like, man, I really don't like just doing strength days, do mix that strength into your running, or go out for a run and then come back and do strength.
Can you do a 23-kilometer walk with full PPE?
I have never tried that. That that sounds very challenging. We do
We've
have
had
the 9/11 stair climbs would probably be the closest things. 100 stories up a building, 100 stories down in full PPE, and I've done that before. But uh, yeah,
Yeah, we've had some guys do some different long distance events wearing PPEs. Of course, they do a stair climb each year
yeah,
in Nairobi in gear, so that's good.
that's awesome.
Uh, Somebody asked, is it good for a firefighter to have a big pot belly?
I mean, I don't think it's healthy objectively, like from medicine, right, to have more belly fat. That being said, like I know a lot of firefighters who have a good pot belly and they can perform really well. Um, some of it might be genetics, or as we get older, right, things in our body change, and uh, it might be that we're just, no matter what we do, right, you're putting on a little bit more belly fat every year, but you can still train physical fitness, and um, you're just doing your running and your push-ups and your squats with a little more weight. So, right, it's not perfection where we're looking for consistency and effort.
Yeah, I think generally, everybody that carries extra weight probably isn't great. I carry some extra just because it helps me work out every day.
Extra energy, stored energy.
But yeah. All right. We're coming up on our time here. We're going to transition into our tea time to keep the discussion going. But let me just conclude our formal portion here. The big thank you to Craig for coming and sharing. I know this is something that's quite a bit of a passion for you, so it's great to get on here and share. We're looking forward to working with you some more here in the future. Thank you to all of you that came out to train with us today. We don't take that for granted that you're out here on your own time and a lot of times using your own money and your own bundles to join us. So thank you for that. Keep in mind, we've got plenty of seats here in the house. So if you think there's somebody else that may benefit from these trainings, please feel free to share that registration link. Again, you can find all that stuff on our webpage at www.africafiremission.org. Go to the resources tab. I encourage you to look around under that resources tab. There's all sorts of good free resources for firefighters to utilize. So please check those out. If you have any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out to us. So with that, we're going to wrap up. Thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you all again next week.